Hey everybody, I'm Andy Smith, your hostess with the mostest. I'm a 30-year comic book veteran, having worked for Marvel Comics, DC Comics, Image Comics, Cross Generation, Ominous Press. You name it, I've probably worked for them. And I do other things art-wise outside of comics in the field of advertising. I've also written some books on drawing comics you might have seen. Drawing American manga superheroes, Drawing Dynamic Comics was my first book. And I also did the handy little How to Draw Superhero sketchbook where all you need is a pencil because you do all the work right inside the book. Enough about that. This is the Book Look series. The Book Look series is where I grab a book off my library. You can see the tons of books I have behind me. And I go through it page by page with you so you can see if it's a book that you might want to buy. I like to know what I want to buy before I buy it, and I feel this is a way to give you some insight into these books. So join me for today's Book Look. Thanks. Well, hello everybody, I'm Andy Smith. Welcome to a new Book Look featuring Alfredo Alcala's Voltar. Before we get into the book look, I am your host with the most, 31-year veteran of the comic book industry. Working on my own stuff finally after working for the man for 30-some years. Working on my own stuff. That's right, First Man. This is Volume 1. Volume 2 is now out. You can get it. The beautiful Bart Sears variant cover. Both of these are available. If you got Volume 1, get Volume 2. Pick between these covers or get them both. If you don't know what First Man is, it's a superhero for a new generation. You can get 1 and 2. There's a link in the description below. Go back it now. Support me as I tackle my own endeavor. Thank you. Now, Alfredo Alcala is a fantastic artist. He's mostly known over here in the States. He's passed away. In the States as an inker. He inked a lot of John Buscema's Conan. He did inking at Marvel. He actually inked me on a Doctor Strange job when I first broke into the business in 1991. This was 92 when I drew it. At Marvel, it never saw print. He did beautiful work over my very early pencils. Voltar is kind of a barbarian type character. I cannot read this. A buddy of mine in Brazil sent this to me. I bought it from him and he sent it to me. So I can only look at the lush artwork. Alfredo, this was during a time where it was just flat color. I don't know if this stuff was ever printed in color, but Alfredo definitely, he is a master at doing gray tones, focusing the eye. I've always loved his work. This does mean preface, so I guess I speak a little bit of a different language. Then we go to Voltar, then a few other things Alfredo did. He inks with a brush, he inks with a pen. Here it is. I believe it was a black and white magazine that it was printed in. Right here. I would love to be able to track this down and try and own this. This came out in 1977. Just beautiful renderings here. I poured through this book. This book is, how many pages is it? About 200 pages. So if you're an art aficionado, I would say get this book. You can see his love for Hal Foster in this spread right here. I can't even fathom how much time it took to draw this stuff. All the different techniques for doing the different gray tones and different textures. I mean, look up in here at this stippling here, cross-hatching. I mean, these beautiful clouds are very Hal Foster. Like I said, I just don't know how he made a living doing this. Honestly, even though it was the 70s, I believe he was living in Brazil. Let me see if I can make out any of this stuff here. Like I said, I can't read any of this. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Brazil, I could do a Google search and it would tell me, but I was just all about this artwork. Alfredo actually drew, penciled and inked. He did do pencil and inks for some Marvel stuff, Barbarian stuff, Conan, of course, for the magazines, but he actually did artwork for the He-Man mini comics that came out in the 80s, pencil and inks. And just look at this beautiful line work back here in this rendering. Beautiful figure work here. I mean, I discovered him when he was inking over John Buscema's Conan work, and I was just in awe of it. But seeing the work that he could do himself when it came to pencil and inks is just so mind-blowing. Like I said, the focus is all here, and he's doing it all with the gray tones to really focus your eye of where to look, even in small panels like this. And this is the end of the first story. Good googly moogly, would you look at that? Breathtaking work, very nice paper. It's not too glossy. It's almost it's not matte. It feels more like a satin finish paper. Look at that horse. Like I said, very reminiscent of Hal Foster. And if you don't know who Hal Foster is, he's the creator of Prince Valiant. Look at the work into this smoke. You can just feel the dimensionality in this. And he's a heavy-handed inker, so when he inked John Buscema, it would look like this. But that was fine, because back then, pencilers were just doing the storytelling and putting down good artwork. They weren't concerned with this super tight pencils that you could print from like people do today, and became more known as the norm in the 90s. That's not how it was back then. Back then, the inker's job was to do the finishes, and you would see the inker's style on their work. If you look at some of the early Conan stuff, Joe Sinnott inking John Buscema, he got the same pencils that Alfredo did, and you could see the difference between the two. Here, this looks like he's using some grease pencil for some of this rendering on textured paper to get this texture instead of doing it with brush. I'm going to skip some ahead. That back shot. This is from the front of the book. Right there, but you can see it bigger. Just, oh. Got this nice split lighting. Like, I'd love to see what his pencils look like. And if they had all this lighting indicated, and then see Kevin Nolan ink that. You got this reflected light bouncing back up in here. Just really gorgeous stuff. Voltar. And what a strong name, Voltar. Love this grease pencil stuff. And then, as we go in through the book, a part of me doesn't mind that I can't read it, but then a part of me would love to read it because it looks like such a great story. And he does such a great job with the storytelling that you know what's going on. You just don't know, like, characters' names and stuff. And the little intricacies of the story. Like, what is all this stuff on his skin, these boils and whatnot. I love the way he does the wrinkles. Alfredo did some great inking over Don Newton on Batman in the early 80s. And just, you could tell it was Don Newton, but you could still see Alfredo's influence, especially in the wrinkles, the way he does wrinkles, and he kicks a little bit of light in here. These wrinkles really give me a feel of J.C. Leyendecker, the way he does them in paint, or did them. J.C. Leyendecker was a famous painter, cover illustrator in the early 1900s. You get almost a carved feel, like of sculpture, with the way he does his rendering, with the lighting and stuff. I believe this is mostly brushwork, which once again is just phenomenal on its own. Look at that. In each one of these panels, there are a lot of medium shots and stuff, but they're very Hal Foster-esque in where the camera is positioned. A lot of these medium shots, like even this close-up, it's a medium close-up because you see the three heads. You don't see a lot of just tight close-ups filling the panel like Joe Kubert does. Which, you know, this is nice, but you're so far removed from the action, whereas you need that zoom in of the camera to tight close-ups to really feel the camera movement throughout the page. That's why I love Joe Kubert's storytelling so much, and how I like to attribute my storytelling to Joe because of moving the camera. You get this long shot and the camera moves in, but just imagine if you went from here and the camera got in even tighter on these guys. You know, you got to leave the room here for these balloons, but what if this camera was zoomed in tighter to where you saw that much of the guy's face here and this much more, you know, tighter here? You get more of a sense of movement. Now, I'm not knocking any of Alfredo's work because, you know, this stuff, like I said, it's just gorgeous. There are things when it comes to anatomy that I look at, and I have a way of doing anatomy. Like I said, all artists have their way of doing anatomy. Real quick tangent, look at this gorgeousness with these clouds off in the distance. You see these little ships back there with their sails up, and this one capsized. Just look at that. Look at these clouds. Good Lord. I don't know, these might just be portfolio pieces because this is the end of a story. Maybe these are portfolio pieces. Just look at this dragon, the anatomy on the back. Yeah, these might just be portfolio pieces. What I was going to say is everybody's anatomy is different, but you look at the structure of the torso and the rib cage, and he has the cut. Like, this is the bottom of the rib cage. You can feel it on yourself, right? You can see it here too. The rib cage, if you look at a skeleton, the cutout of the rib cage right here actually is right below the sternum. You know, the sternum, the breastbone comes down, the pec's attached to it, and then this rib cage cuts usually more up here. So I'm just curious how he learned his anatomy and why he chose to drop it lower like that. Stuff like that, as an artist, I find interesting. I can't read that. I don't know what it means. But this looks more like World War II stuff, a World War II story. And this has a very German feel to it. Not as much gray tones in this work. More strong black and white. He does more of the gray stuff here. This actually has kind of a Roy Crane feel to it with the water and stuff. I really like this stuff as well. Being more open. I don't know what it was done for. This is very Roy Crane looking to me. I mean, it almost looks like a black and white photo. This looks like a black and white photo. Just look at that. The way the water's rendered. And the great thing is, this could be colored. If this was in color, this could be daytime or nighttime. That's what's so lovely about it. The submarine under the water. Grafspie. Grafspie. Don't know what that means. Don't even know how that accent was. Just beautiful stuff. And then we get to, I don't know if there's a chapter demarcation here. 55, no, not really. Some cartoony stuff. So Alfredo, this is what I love. I think a well-rounded cartoonist, which I consider myself, should be able to draw realistic type stuff and cartoony stuff like this. Look at this dude. Usually it's a body with two heads. This is one head and two bodies like that. Crazy. Look at this cartoony looking Tarzan type dude. I mean, I had no idea Alfredo was this versatile until I got this book. I'm assuming all this was printed in black and white. So for a black character, he really goes in and uses the rendering and the shadows. So you look at this and, you know, you don't have to think, is this a black character? Because the person's leaving it open for color. No, he's doing it all in ink. I don't know if this was done in 1960. I guess this was done in 1965. Holy crap. $1966. So Voltaire looked like it was 1977. This was a decade before. Now, here's the funny thing. When I was growing up reading comics and I would see Alfredo ink John Buscema, I couldn't stand it because he was so overpowering on John Buscema. But now I look at those same books in a different light and I'm just in awe of what he brought to it, knowing what John's pencils looked like before. Now we're something with the Condor in 1967, back to doing this beautiful gray tones. The wings on this vulture, gigantic vulture. Just a masterclass on wrinkles and clothing. I mean, this whole book is a masterclass on if it's like, I want to do a book totally in gray tones, but I want to do all the gray tones with pen and ink or brush. No computer enhancement for the gray tones. This is what I imagine his Tarzan would look like. Just this posture and this character. This totally looks like a Tarzan type character. It's got to be. Look at that. "'Tis the Condor." Just the amount of work. I don't know how big these originals were. They might be the 11 by 17, which is the size we draw now, but they could have been bigger. And they might have been just because of the amount of detail he put in this back. And all this detail. I'm thinking these originals were probably twice up, but I don't know. And then look at this caricature of this guy here. Mixing this cartooniness with this realism of this guy. And it just works. Beautiful. Just that tree. And this is the same type of inking finish he would bring to Don Newton. And look at Don Newton's Batman. He's been inked. Don Newton was inked by a lot of great inkers. Joe Rubinstein. I believe Murphy Anderson inked some of his work. Dave Hunt. Dan Atkins, maybe, I think, inked some of Don Newton's work. A lot of different guys, but The one that really put his style on him was Alfredo. I should really try and dig out those pages I have from the Doctor Strange job I did, because Alfredo did get some back as well. And I don't think I drew the whole job. I think I was told to stop, or maybe I did draw the whole job. I think I did, and I got, 13, 14 pages back, and Alfredo got the rest. This has a little Will Eisner feel to me right here. Some of the wrinkles do as well. Little Burn Hogarth in some of these faces. Definitely in some of the wrinkles in the trees. Have some Burn Hogarth feel to it. This Alan Weiss, another artist I've mentioned before who has not done enough work. This has a little Alan Weiss vibe to it in regards to the rendering, so I'm sure Alan was probably a fan of Alfredo's work. And that's it. And then I guess this is more of a biography on Alfredo. This is him in 1951. This is him in 1970. Alfredo was born in 1925. Look at that, a year before Joe Kubert. So in 1966, he was 41. In 1977, when he was doing the Voltar stuff, he was my age. Holy crap. He was born in 25 and 77. He was 52 when he was doing Voltar. He was my age. As I love seeing different tools here. This, I wish I could read this, because this probably goes into the different tools. I'll have to see. Maybe there's an app that translates text, because I would like to read this. So then in look, here we go. Here's some of his He-Man stuff. Let's see if there's more over here. So this looks like a rough. So he would use a marker to spot some blacks and stuff in his rough. But there's some of the He-Man mini comic art I told you he did. I'm not sure when Alfredo passed away. This was written by his son. This says 2000. Maybe he passed away in 2000. So he inked me in 1992. He was born in 25. 25 to 95 is 70. Minus 67. He was 67 when he inked me. Wow. This is great. Full color by Alfredo. A full color painting. Some more covers he did. This is the Condor, Golden Age hero. Voltar, 1963. Huh, maybe he created him in 1963. So he was a little under 40 when he created Voltar. This was written by his son in 2021. Look at that. So that has been today's book look, Voltar, by Alfredo Alcala. I love this. It's a fantastic book. I strongly suggest, if you're a fan, look for it online. You can probably find it. It was Amazon Brazil, I believe, is where my friend got it. So he bought it for me, and I sent him the money, and he had it sent over from Brazil. And if you're into cool superhero stuff, my book is shipping now. First Man. If you didn't get Volume 1, you can go get Volume 1. get Volume 2 and enjoy some great fun superhero stuff. Bart Sears variant cover. There's also a Bart Sears variant for Volume 1 you can get. There's a link in the description below. Go check it out. I'll catch you guys next time. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Bye-bye, everybody. Bet First Man 2 now, live on Indiegogo.